Hello everyone, Giltar here with a model kit review. This time we'll be looking at the 1 to 144 scale high-grade universal sentry YMS-15 Gyan. Now this is an old mobile suit design. It's from the Mobile Suit Gundam anime TV series. It's piloted by Makuve, which is one of the senior officers in the Gyan army. And as you can see, it is very much inspired by the stereotypical image of the armored knight. With armor, a shield, and a sword. However, it isn't restricted to melee combat. The dimples on the front of the shield can actually fire explosive ammunition. And so this is a really interesting design for myself. I know for a lot of people, because it is quite sort of, I guess, retro looking, you guys might not like it too much, but for someone like me, I really like sort of odd designs, and I am actually, one of my other hobbies outside of everything else I spoke of before involving comic books, video games, and whatnot, is that I'm also interested in pre-industrialized age warfare. So I'm really into metallurgy, metalworking, the study of I guess obsolete weaponry like swords and such. I'm interested in the engineering behind those weapons. Anyways, getting back to the review, what inspired me to do this review are a couple of things. First of all, again, the Gyan is one of my favorite designs. I first saw the Gyan when Prime 92 reviewed it quite a while ago, and then I saw it again when I watched the Mobile Suit Gundam anime TV series. After that, and many months later, I eventually bought the Gyan here for $5 or so. It normally retails at 800 yen, or about $9. And I put this model kit together a few weeks ago, and it really struck me when I put it together how far we've come in terms of the level of engineering and design in modern plastic model kits that Bandai and other companies create, because this thing is quite basic. There's no denying that. And I mean, like, the release date of this product was, I think, July of 2000, or rather 1999. So over 10 years ago is when this model kit came out. In fact, it's the second released model kit in the high-grade Universal Sentry line, the first one being the RX-77 gun cannon. Now, one point of interest in this model kit is the fact that it uses the same polycap runner as the gun cannon. As you can see here, this is the tree or runner or gate or whatever you want to call it, polycap runner, and all these fists and hands here are actually for the gun cannon. And we actually have some leftover bits that I think may go on to the gun cannon. But I also have the gun cannon high-grade Universal Sentry kit. I haven't put it together yet, but I did take a look at the runner, and it's exactly like this. So at least the first two model kits of the high-grade Universal Sentry line share the same polycap runner, which is kind of interesting. We don't see that too much these days unless we see an exact sort of reuse of an existing mold, like any sort of variation of the Zaku's or GMs, for example. You can expect to see reuses of runners, but the Gyan and the gun cannon visually look quite different. I mean, they only resemble each other in that they're humanoid robots. So I'll start off with the accessories. So we have this sword here, this beam saber, which is a cylindrical form. However, it does widen near the tip and then tapers right at the tip. So it's quite an interesting design. The shield itself is quite large, and again, these dimples house these sort of barrels or openings where you can fire its explosive ammunition from. And the shield clip itself has two joints, two hinges, where it allows you to move it to the front and position the shield in such a manner. Now, I think this is a really great design. First of all, I mean, this is the second high-grade Universal Sentry kit, so to see an innovation like this is quite interesting. And secondly, it's a really substantial structure. I mean, it's not hollow. You actually have to put a few pieces together to create the shield accessory, and it gives a really nice visual sense of I guess mass, and also in the hand it doesn't feel like it's just this sort of dinky little plastic shield. And I think shields are kind of overlooked in terms of Gundam designs and model kits in general. Usually they're just treated as pieces of armor you strap to an arm, but like the Gyan shield here, I think is a really neat design point of the model kit. And that's pretty much it for the accessories. Now, in terms of articulation, it's quite limited. The feet are only able to move back and forth this much. Wiggle side to side pretty much the same amount, like not much at all. And it can rotate a little bit, but not a lot at all, and that does limit its ability to stand with a stable position. The knees, however, are great. They're double jointed, so they allow a greater than 90-degree bend here, so that's pretty amazing. The legs themselves can't move too far forward due to this skirt here, which is all one solid piece, and it doesn't move. It can move back quite a bit, at least, so I mean, it's not bad. They're polycap sockets with, I think, ball joint pegs for the hip connectors there. The waist is really, you can't really move it at all. You can only move it because the joints are loose enough to allow it, but it's not meant for rotation. The shoulders themselves are just straight pegs, so they only allow rotation. They don't bend in or out or up and down like you see in more modern kits. It doesn't even rotate at the shoulder. It rotates at the elbow simply because there's a peg into a polycap. So I don't know if it's, you know, going to last that long to keep rotating it. Similarly, the wrists or the hand connections are just a straight peg into a polycap joint, so they rotate but they don't wiggle. And finally, the head itself is on a ball joint, so it can wiggle and rotate if you want, but it's quite a loose connection, at least on my model kit here. And as far as that's pretty much it for articulation. It's quite limited, though the knees again are quite surprising. I think it's a really nice point here that we saw a double jointed knee so early on in the high grade Universal Century lineup. And the hands themselves are pretty interesting. I mean, this one's a standard grip hand or fist. This one is differently shaped so that it holds the beam saber at an angle and gives you a more sort of natural and realistic looking grip for a sword weapon in the hand. It's not just sort of a straight up and down hold. It's got the hand at an angle to the grip of the sword or the hilt of the sword. And that's pretty much it for the model kit. I mean, it's really basic, and I think it's a great demonstration and example of how far modern Gundam model kits have come, and model kits from other companies as well. I mean, this is something that came out in 1999, and even so, it has some really nice innovations. And actually, I did miss one point. I'll touch upon it right now. In the shoulder, which are spherical forms, there is a large gap to allow moving the shoulder or arm rather up and down. However, it's designed with a piece of plastic sheathing inside to sort of at least minimize the look of the gap, so it tries to keep it uniform. I think that's another nice touch too. That's something I wouldn't have expected from such an old model kit. But I mean, there it is. And again, this shield I think is the highlight of this model. The knee design, the shield design, and the shoulder design are three really nice points on this model kit. And for those points alone, I recommend that anybody that's interested in the Gyan pick up this model, because those are really just nice little features. And you know, admittedly, for the majority of the model, it is really rudimentary and basic in design. The visuals of the Gyan itself don't really appeal to a lot of people, but I mean, if you have any interest in Universal Century designs, this is, you know, one that you shouldn't miss out on, because it's quite unique. I think that if anybody wanted to do a modern version of a custom Gyan, they could use the YMS-15 Zuda from the high-grade Universal Century line as the basis, because they both have a similar appearance of like an armored humanoid robot, essentially, in like medieval armor. So that would be really neat to see that done, or maybe somebody has already done it out there in the kit bashing world. So that's it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it and got something out of it. It is definitely shorter than my normal reviews, but I think I've covered all the important aspects of it, and perhaps given you guys, you know, those of you who don't have much experience with the older model kits, a sort of glimpse into the past. And perhaps you guys will appreciate the modern model kits even more now that you've seen how far we've come in terms of engineering and design of these products. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time at the next review.